Israeli ambassador, I guess he's the ambassador of the United States, Yoram Hazony.
Okay.
It's going to be an interesting explanation here, but for many decades, for many generations, the aspersion that you're an anti-Semite was something that was used by the Zios to keep people in line. It does not seem to be working anymore, and they're not really sure what to do. But that's not going to stop them from continuing to use those terms. And so Yoram Hazony, at this recent get-together, had this to say regarding the position of Israel within the two major political parties, as well as the impact that Tucker Carlson has had on the plight, Jen, of the Zionist Jewish people.
I'd like to say a few words today about the place of Jews and of anti-Semites in the Republican Party in America. The subject is pressing because since October 2023, their rivals, the Democrats, have largely made their peace with the anti-Jewish hatred of the neo-Marxists and Muslim Brotherhood supporters in their party. In fact, the influence of anti-Semites on the American left has become so blatant and so ubiquitous that most of my American Jewish friends have concluded that Jews have no future in the Democratic Party of Zoran Mamdani and Ilhan Omar. And if the
Could we just stop for a second and recognize the fact that when they mispronounce their names, they know how to pronounce them correctly. They just choose not to.
They don't care to. It's not worth their effort. They don't care to. It doesn't matter to him one or the other. And it's just, again, completely delusional. Delusional. Mamdani had a very strong amount of Jewish support when he just won. So I don't know. Yeah. The woe is me thing.
Republicans were to go down this same road, it's not clear what will be left of Jewish life in America.
Well, hopefully it doesn't include people like this douche.
This maudlin shit, who does this work on exactly? That's what I'm still trying to figure out. Jewish life won't exist in this country if we can't control one of the two major political parties. That's what you sell? That's what you're trying to convince people of?
Yes, because they need to look, this is the story that we've been being told since World War II in this country. And it's the same thing I was brainwashed with as a kid. They're still trying to sell this lack of Jewish safety, that there's no safe place for the Jews, that the Jews are not safe. They are still trying to sell this like hyperbolic future wherein the Jews just can't exist safely anywhere. And they need to keep doing that to keep all the people that are fearful. That's how they're able to control it. But, you know, it's not working on the younger people, but it's still keeping the believers in line. Let's just say that.
It's the ones that can still breathe, I suppose.
Over the past 18 months, the possibility that the Republicans too would embrace anti-Semitism has become all too real. With some of the most influential podcasts on the political right transforming themselves into platforms for relentless anti-Jewish messaging, not just arguing against Israeli policies towards Gaza or Iran, but for the explicit and savage targeting of Jews, Judaism, and Zionism on a regular basis. And so the question has been asked, and it's been asked loudly and combatively by some of you here over the past 6 months, do these shows represent the future of the Republican Party? The Trump administration and its allies have been blindsided by these podcasts and by the Jewish outrage over them. For months, they largely failed to respond. But in recent weeks, the Trump administration has stepped in to impose order. On January 11th, President Trump took the clearest possible stance against anti-Semitism in his political coalition. Asked by the New York Times if he condemns anti-Semitism on the right, he said, certainly. And then he added, I don't think we need them. I don't think we like them. But then on January 16th, President Trump met with Tucker Carlson for lunch at the White House, which also arranged to have Tucker photographed together with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. And finally, on January 19th, Tucker aired a show in which he said some kind things about two Jews sympathetic to the administration, Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and myself. And then he concluded by saying, "That's why I would never be anti-Semitic. You can't generalize." Now, these events are obviously choreographed to put an end to 6 months of nightmarish infighting on the political right, which makes sense. The Republicans are facing tough midterm elections in November, and they don't want to lose Congress over anti-Semitism.
That's why they want to. That's why they don't want to lose the midterms over anti-Semitism. That's your reasoning. Yes, there is no question that Tucker Carlson has an immense amount of power when it comes to a nice portion of the voting demographic within the GOP. That's part of the reason why Trump probably is making nice with him, even though they probably can't stand each other. And Tucker understands power better than most. This guy had the audacity to reference himself and Stephen Miller in the same sentence, as if to say that they're the ones being persecuted. They are the ones that are being misrepresented. You want to know the one person above all others who's running the Gestapo, that is ICE, around the United States? Stephen Miller.
All right, so this seems like a really long video. How much longer does he go on, and how relevant is it to like what people need to know?
I wish you would just bear with me and give me the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, no, then fine. Then just say he's getting to the good part, and I'll say, okay, cool. All right.
The problem is that by now, not too many Jews are likely to accept Tucker's disavowal of anti-Semitism at face value. Why? Because for the last 18 months, Tucker's interview show has become a circus of aggressive anti-Jewish propaganda. Anti-Semites know that you can tune into Tucker's show if you want to hear the Jews are a demonic force in history. The Jews have a plan to systematically destroy every Christian community in the Middle East. The Jews control the American government. The Jews
do control the American government.
Shot Kennedy. The Jews.
They did shoot Kennedy.
Propped up Winston Churchill financially so he could start an unnecessary war with Hitler. That the Jewish Bible is about revenge and genocide and doesn't teach us to be gracious to one another. That Christians who think Jews are God's chosen people aren't Christians at all, but heretics. And so
the reason you call yourselves the chosen people is one of the main reasons most people hate you.
Go on. There's much more of this, but you get the picture. These aren't normal political messages disagreeing with other members of the Trump coalition on legitimate policy issues. They're abusive, wild slanders, and their repeated appearance on Tucker's show has persuaded almost every Jew I know that the program's actual purpose is to drive Jews, along with tens of millions of Zionist Christians, out of the Trump coalition and out of the Republican Party. And if that's not anti-Semitism, then what is?
Have you ever heard somebody cry so hard and fall so flat?
This is what they do. They're victims. They're forever victims.
I don't know this man, haven't heard him speak before, but it almost appears as if every one of them has the same talking points every time they get on stage. Woe is me. What's going to happen to our people? I think in part because they're just so used to pulling the levers of power, and perhaps there is some foresight with a few of them that see a future where they're not going to have that advantage over us anymore. And they're not knowing what the hell they're going to do about it. What are they going to do about it, Jen?
Why are you asking me? How do I know what they're going to do about it? You ask me like I'm with them. I'm not with them. I don't know what they're going to do. I've abandoned their ship. They could have South Florida.
I would imagine that most of them already have a place in South Florida. That's probably one of the more.
They can have it. They can have South Florida and just stay out of my business. Stay out of my way.
Yes. And that is why they have to do what they're doing, which is robust censorship over all of our lives. And that includes our social media. But the good news is, as we pointed out on the last stream, and we will point out here, there is an alternative. There is an alternative to this madness. And that alternative is called Upscroll. And Upscroll is a very unique, what I would call hybrid app created by an Aussie Palestinian, where he basically has combined the best elements of TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram and put it into one application. And over the course of just a few days, as I suspected as much, he had a few 100,000 subscribers. Our last stream on Monday, he's now over 1.4 million subscribers on the channel.
But wait. But here's what I really want to know, and this is where it's what's most important. How many people have uninstalled TikTok? How many people have excellent Navy OD? So how many, because that was my understanding, was that in the past however many days, TikTok has been uninstalled like at a rate that's, out of control. And as much as I'm glad to see Upscroll doing well, I'm glad for that. As someone who's not on those things, I don't have a horse in that race. But I really did want, at the time when Larry Ellison bought TikTok, I remember very specifically saying to everybody, get off of TikTok, let him be holding something worthless. And that is what will please me to no end. So, if this other thing satisfies what people were on TikTok for, yay.
Here's a follow-up message from Isham Hajazi, the creator and founder of Upscroll.
Isham Hajazi here, the founder of Upscroll. Hopping on here to say a massive thank you. Thank you for being part of this community and for making Upscroll what it is. It is absolutely my honor to share with you that we've just hit over 1 million users. I wanted to first take a moment to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because this is simply incredible. Our community is growing at a pace I only could have dreamt of. Which, talking of dreams, as you can imagine, I haven't had much sleep over the last 72 hours. I do understand there's a lot of curiosity about who I am and why I created this app, so I just wanted to make this video for that. My name is Isam. I was born in Jordan, but my family is originally from Palestine, from a city called Safad. My grandparents were forced to flee their home back in 1948, just like many Palestinians, and they settled in Amman, where I was born. I've since lived across the globe and eventually ended up in Australia, where I also became an Australian citizen. Since the end of 2023, things have completely changed for me and for my family. I lost so many family members in Gaza, and I watched firsthand as meaningful stories disappeared from feeds, while harmful misinformation thrived, propelling and manufacturing consent for the genocide. And I knew I couldn't stand idly by. So I, like many others in the community, left Big Tech and back in November 2023 began working on this alternative platform, Upscroll. People told me I was crazy. I mean, you're trying to compete with Big Tech. Hell, I thought I was too. But this wasn't about competing for me. It was about building something for the people, a platform where every voice is free and equal.
Seems like a novel concept, doesn't it, Jen?
Yeah, sounds crazy.
No censorship, freedom of speech, full stop. So what that means is, and one of the things that I think he's going to get into here that he's going to explain is why so much of that messaging you're not able to see. There is this shadow banning and confirmation bias that ends up happening. So you just keep people in the same silos.
I created Upscroll for all of us, for those who are tired of being shadow banned, for people who don't want their personal data to be shared or sold without their consent, for users who don't want to be surveilled by corporations who say one thing publicly and do another thing privately. We launched last year in June. We grew steadily through word of mouth as more and more people moved to our platform, in rejection of Big Tech's practices. And as of last week, with everything that's happening on TikTok, we grew way more than I have ever imagined. We went from 150,000 users to hitting over 1 million users in less than a few days.
That's amazing.
And the crazy part, we did not run any ads. We did not pay influencers. We did not manufacture any of this.
That's
Sounds
awesome.
sounds like something the Zio scum have to do on the regular. Isn't it amazing what word of mouth can do when people are really committed to a cause? And this is just the beginning. Remember, a lot of people never typically get in right at the beginning. A lot of people also kind of wait in the shadows. They wait until there's confirmation from others who say, yeah, this is a great app. It definitely works. You should check it out. And 1 million will become 3 million in the blink of an eye. Now, I understand that there's probably, I don't know, at least 500 million to 1 billion people probably on TikTok. But in terms of its usage, in terms of where it's going, we all know that it's going in the toilet. Eventually, hopefully, this will become the new normal. And as some people in the chat have suggested, some better be watching his back, because Lord knows the powers that be are very concerned about this, and they're going to try to do everything they can to stop it dead in its tracks. If only we lived in a world of real freedom, liberty, and opportunity.
Well, at least this time they won't blame it on the Chinese. I mean, they're not going to say, well, look, the Chinese own it, like they started with TikTok. You know, first the TikTok problem was that it was the Chinese were going to get all of our information and our data.
Oh,
And
don't
I gotta tell you, let me tell you all, like, I don't want anybody having my data. So whether or not they're Chinese versus American oligarchs is irrelevant to me. So that whole concept is absurd. Like, they're absorbing all of our information and our, regardless of what the nationality is of the people. Like, yeah, this guy at least will be able to at least say it's not from, you know, it's not China.
No, it's definitely China. Believe me, it's totally China's fault. But you know what they are going to say? They're going to say it's Hamas. They're going to say he's Hamas. Trust me, he has Hamas sympathies. They're going to come up with, they'll throw anything that they could throw at the wall to try to make it stick. But guess what? I don't think it's going to stick.
You did this. Every download, every share, every conversation you started about why freedom of speech matters for everyone, not selectively. And I'm honestly so overwhelmed that you're here, and I'm also grateful to everyone for bearing with us as we grow. We're a very small, tiny team, but we have a lot planned for 2026, and we want to bring you into shaping it. We're just getting started here. We're working hard to be worthy of your trust you've placed in us. Everything from transparency, new features that you like in the app, faster responses from real human beings, a platform that just keeps getting better, because that's honestly what you deserve. Upscroll is yours. We're just building it. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, he's adorable. Okay, he's a precious blueberry. I want to answer Medio. I wasn't suggesting I thought China was taking the data. I never thought that one way or the other. I didn't care either. I'm just saying that we were told that the threat was China getting the data. I don't, again, never had TikTok, so doesn't matter to me.
As Raymay points out, the Zios are already trying to destroy the app with bots, of course, but that's all they have. They can't do anything else. They can't win. They can't.